Hello and welcome. Today, we're diving into a topic that is totally reshaping our world, starting right in the classroom. We're talking about the massive, unstoppable impact of technology on education. So, think back for a second. Can you picture that old school classroom? The rows of desks, the teacher up front, maybe even that smell of chalk dust in the air? For a lot of us, that world is pretty much ancient history now because the tech shift has been incredibly fast and has changed, well, everything. And we're basing this explainer on the insights of an expert who spent the last 2.5 decades right on the front lines of EdTech, watching this whole transformation happen in real time. And that really brings us to the main point here. Technology isn't just a fun add-on anymore. It's not a supplementary tool. It's become an absolutely essential part of modern education. It has completely changed how students learn, how teachers teach, and really how our schools even work. So let's get into it. How did we even get here? In our first section, we're going to break down the key parts of this tech revolution in education. All right, on to section 2, learning without limits. This is where we get to talk about one of the biggest impacts, how tech has basically torn down the walls of the classroom and shattered those old physical barriers to learning. The big idea here is what you might call the democratization of knowledge. It means a great education is no longer a privilege that depends on where you live. Thanks to all these digital tools, learning is way more accessible to way more people, in more places than ever before in history. And this really puts the change into perspective. We've gone from a world where learning was literally stuck inside four walls to one where it's connected to this massive global library in the cloud. Access isn't a geographical lottery anymore. It's just about having an internet connection. And what's making all this happen? Well, it's a whole suite of amazing tools. We're talking about online learning platforms, virtual classrooms that can connect students from different continents, and this huge universe of open educational resources, or OER. These are basically high-quality learning materials that are totally free for anyone to use and share. It's a game changer. But getting access is only half the battle. Technology also makes learning way more interesting and, let's be honest, fun. It's totally changing what happens during a lesson. Students are no longer just passive listeners. They're becoming active participants. And these tools are so creative. Instead of just reading about a historical battle, a student can now experience it through an interactive simulation. Instead of just memorizing math formulas, they can actually learn them through a gamified lesson that feels like playing a video game. And this isn't just for kicks. When you make learning active and cater to different learning styles, you dramatically improve how much information people actually remember. Which brings us right into our third section, the personalized classroom. Because beyond just engaging a whole group, technology is now smart enough to create a unique, individual learning path for every single student. The secret sauce here is something called adaptive learning systems. Okay, so imagine a digital tutor that's watching how a student is doing, and it knows exactly what they've mastered and where they're getting stuck. Then it changes the difficulty of the material right there in real time to be the perfect level for them. So this whole adaptive thing works in a pretty simple 3-step cycle. First, the system assesses what a student knows. Then it analyzes that performance to find their strengths and weaknesses. And finally, this is the magic part, it adapts. It gives them custom content that either helps them catch up or pushes them with a new challenge. This just blows that old one-size-fits-all model of education right out of the water. And it's not just about individual learning. Technology is also completely rewiring how we learn together. These digital platforms are building bridges, creating these seamless connections between students, teachers, and even parents to build a real community around learning. A lot of us are probably familiar with platforms like Google Classroom or Microsoft Teams by now. When students use shared documents and work on projects together online, they can collaborate from anywhere. And this isn't just about convenience. It's actively teaching them critical skills like teamwork and digital literacy, skills they absolutely need for the modern workforce. And that focus on skills leads us straight to section 4, building future-ready students. Now we're going to look at how tech is getting the next generation ready for the world of tomorrow. But preparing students really starts with empowering their teachers. And a huge, and I mean huge benefit of tech that often gets overlooked is how it automates all that boring admin work. It streamlines the mountains of paperwork that teachers have to deal with, everything from taking attendance to grading. The effect of this is just profound. When you automate those routine tasks, you free up our amazing educators to focus their time and energy on what they're actually there to do. It lets them shift from being the sage on the stage, just lecturing, to being the guide on the side, mentoring, inspiring, and actually teaching their students. So back to the students. Using these tools every day in the classroom is direct training for their future careers. In today's world, being fluent with technology isn't just a nice little bonus skill, it's a baseline requirement for pretty much every single job out there. And as you can see here, we're talking about a whole range of skills. There are the technical ones, sure, like coding and data literacy, but there are also communication skills for the digital age, and that all-important cognitive skill of critical thinking, which you absolutely need to navigate our complex online world. And this is so important. Technology is also making education more inclusive. Just look at the chart. Assistive tools like screen readers or speech-to-text software can just dramatically improve access. They break down barriers for learners with disabilities and help make sure that everyone gets an equal shot at success. It's about leveling the playing field. Okay, so let's pull all these threads together and look at the road ahead. In our final section, we're going to think about the big picture and what this all really means for the future of learning. If there is one thing you take away from this, it should be this. Technology is not just an add-on anymore. It is the core engine, the transformative force that is driving a more effective, more equitable, and a way more engaging education system for everyone. But, of course, with all this incredible power comes a huge responsibility. The tools themselves are just tools. They're neutral. So as tech opens up all these limitless possibilities, the real question that we all have to ask ourselves is this: how do we make sure we use it wisely to build the best possible future for the next generation of learners? Something to think about. Thanks for joining this explainer.